Shalom to Morton Klein, president of ZOA, the Zionist Organization of America.
Hello, Yanni.
So, Morton, what is your response to President Obama's statements regarding the Iranian threat?
Well, I was deeply disappointed, even frightened, to see our President Obama yesterday say he has stopped Iran's progress toward nuclear weapons. This is completely false. They continue to keep all of their 19,000 centrifuges and developing more and better centrifuges so they can more readily and more easily develop nuclear weapons. That hasn't stopped. He's allowed them to keep their uranium piles. He reduced the amount to 3.5%, but this can be changed quickly. And he hasn't done anything about the ICBMs, the intercontinental ballistic missiles, which are being developed for one reason only, to carry nuclear weapons. So they're developing that as fast and as strongly as they can. Plus, in their military installations like Parchin, the Americans are not allowed to go there and monitor it, and there's great evidence that this is where they're continuing research on nuclear weapons. So for him to say he stopped the progress of Iran nuclear weapons is absolutely and completely false, and it's deeply troubling to hear him say such a thing. He also He said that we need to speak out against anti-Semitism. He has never, almost never, spoken out against the promotion of hatred and violence by the Palestinian Authority in their schools, in their media, in their speeches. He says nothing about it and continues to give them almost $500 million in US dollars a year. And even during the Hamas war against Israel, Hamas, whose charter calls not only for Israel's destruction, but for the murder of every single Jew. During that war, Obama sent Hamas $47 million to help out Gaza in the middle of this terror war against Israel. So it's deeply troubling that he acts as if he's good on these issues when he's really terrible on these issues.
Now, in terms of the Palestinian attempts to unilaterally declare a state in the United Nations, what could and should be done?
Abu Mazen, the difference between him and Arafat is Abu Mazen wears a suit and tie. He founded the terrorist group Fatah with Arafat together. He was the major guy who funded the Munich massacre of the Israeli athletes, and he's a Holocaust denier. He wrote a PhD thesis denying the Holocaust, and he's a dictator. His term ended in 2009, and he will not allow elections since then. But not only that, he promotes and calls for violence against Jews, saying we're defiling the Temple Mount. His Fatah website tells people to use cars to kill Israelis on the Fatah website. His newspapers promote hatred and violence constantly. If you look at his emblem that Mahmoud Abbas commissioned to have the emblem for the Fatah party, it's his ruling party, you see, it's a shape of all of Israel with a keffiyeh over all of it, not just over Judea, Samaria, Eastern Jerusalem, and Gaza, over all of it, with a big picture of Arafat and Kalashnikov rifle. This is not the emblem that someone who wants peace will have as an emblem. And he puts together posters of suicide bombers and terrorists, glorifying them, putting this in universities and high schools all over the place. This is one of the suicide bombers. His name is Yiya Ayash, if I remember correctly. And he pays pensions to Arabs who have murdered Jews or Arabs who are in prison. He gives pensions to the families. And listen to this. The more Jews they've murdered, the bigger the pension. Is this how you discourage and stop terrorism? By rewarding the families of terrorists? He says he will not allow a single Jew to live in Palestine, God forbid if there's such a state. And these are the sorts of things that he's promoting, making it crystal clear he's against Israel's existence. He has told Obama 2 months ago that even if they go to the 67 line and give it to him, he will not sign an agreement that says no further claims against Israel. He says, I will continue my war against Israel in the UN and in the international arena, even if he gets a state. And clearly he doesn't want a state if it means Israel. He's been offered a state in 2000 and 2008 by Barak and Olmert. Both times the Palestinian authorities turned it down because it meant signing a statement that says no more claims. It's over. And their goal is Israel's destruction. His own Fatah charter, not the PLO charter, his Fatah charter, a half a dozen clauses calling for destroying the Zionist entity. So this is who this man is, not to mention, finally, his alliance with Hamas. It's now a Hamas-Fatah alliance. If you want peace with Israel, do you ally yourself with one of the worst terrorist regimes on earth, Hamas, that calls for the murder of every Jew? So this is a complete fraud, a complete fake. Abbas is a terrorist who wants to destroy Israel and kill Jews, and that's why for 21 years, since Oslo began, you have no peace, even though Israel has made huge concessions I thought were much too much, and they've turned down everyone because they will not accept Israel ever. If that's what it takes to have a state, they say no state.
How could this conflict come to an end?
As long as Islam dictates not to be friends with Jews, dictates to kill Jews in their hadith that calls for the murder of Jews, peace is not possible. There needs to be a reformation of Islam. That's what al-Sisi said only last week, twice now, the president of Egypt, that there must be a revolution, he says, in the Islam religion. That's the first thing that has to happen. And we in America have to stop funding this terrorist regime to the tune of almost $500 million a year. We have to say, we have to start making it clear, we will not allow a state, if you continue promoting hatred and violence against Jews, if we make it clear that we don't support what they're doing openly and clearly, then they'll have to think whether they continue with these policies. So, but that hasn't happened yet. Look, they've now gone to the International Criminal Court to launch charges against Israel, claiming they committed war crimes. This is not what you do if you want to make peace with Israel. So I am not sanguine, I'm not optimistic that peace can be made with a terrorist regime. They have to change. It's in their ballpark. Israel has done everything and more than everything possible to make peace. The Arabs have made it clear they don't want peace with the Jewish state.
Morton Klein, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Yoni.